Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you from 2009. Played at the Chinese Championship on the white end Ding Liren, playing against Nihua. Okay, we have a d-pawn based opening. And with the move d5, we have a Grunfeld Defense, an exchange Grunfeld. Typical follow-up c5, typical battle in the Grunfeld over d4. Rook b1, off the diagonal. There's also aggressive ideas behind this rook move. Keep a watchful eye on this piece here. Castles, bishop e2, knight c6, d5. This pawn is pretty much poison. In the game, knight e5 is played. If black swipes this pawn, black is saying, I'm okay giving up my most valuable piece, pound for pound, at least. This would happen. Dark square bishop exchange. And now what? Where do you go with the knight? Computer says best is to hop in the center and give that pawn right back. If you do otherwise, here, back home, it's decisive for white. This idea of h4, h5 is very strong without that dark square bishop around. You can't even hold up the h5 idea with h5. Queen h6 would be there with knight g5 to follow and mate shortly on h7. So in short, this pawn here after d5, this pawn is poison. Knight e5 in this game. Knight exchange. How to defend c3 here. Rook lift. Okay, this is just temporary defense. Nearby there will be c4, strengthening white's strongest pawn, and that opens up some interesting options on the king side for that rook. Queen d6, and from here queen d2. Nearby, there's f4 with tempo, e5 with tempo, grabbing space in the center in the process. How to handle this idea. Black's play is e6. Now, we're going to come back to this position shortly. I just want to put on these next handful of moves to show you how things play out and how black ends up wasting some time with this pawn in particular. Here's how it plays out in the game. Keep a watchful eye on this e-pawn. We have e6 here, f4, c4, and now this pawn takes a second step, playing here to e5. The follow-up from here is with f5. Okay, a pawn sacrifice line. This is as far as I want to take this variation right here. Some time was lost by taking two steps with that pawn. How the computer wants to play it at this moment here. After queen to d2. Not with e6. It says you can't stop f4 with tempo. Move this bishop out of the way. And if white plays f4 here, play e7 to e5. Move that e-pawn to e5 in one go. And black is not wasting a move. There's still this pawn sacrifice line. This is how the computer wants to play it. So there's something a little bit off with how the game is being played here. e6, a move or two later, e5, all right. How does it play out in this one? Well, after queen d2, one step with the e-pawn, here comes a second step now with e5. I want to point out that capturing here on d5 would not be good. If black captures here on d5, top move would be e5. Second best would be this natural, okay, let me just recapture right away towards the center. If you play in that way, it's still healthy for white, but it would give black a window to activate the bishop on d4. This is a moment where white could shut that idea down straight away. e5 first, and only then the recapture on d5. We would be looking at a decisive advantage for white. Two super invasive pawns here in the center. So no capture here on d5. c4 strengthens this point, opens up this rook. We have e5 here as a response, and now a pawn sacrifice line with f5. Pawn takes, bishop takes, and here we go. Castles with tempo. Bishop on g6, and better than simply regaining the material is h4. This is top, looking to bother this bishop. Take over control of the g6 square. That will make this rook swing towards the kingside much more powerful. There'd be ideas to next crash through on g7 if you don't have control over this g6 square anymore. Black's play from here is with h5. Holds up the h5 idea. Now, if you play a different move, let's say b6, here's how black could end up in hot water. h5 would be there. Bishop only has one safe square. It's not stable. But we don't even go after this bishop. Rook g3 is crushing. h6 right around the corner. What are you doing about this pin? The natural reaction would be, let me just get out of the pin. But there's then an exchange sacrifice, a queen check, rook entry. Dark squares are completely crushed in black's camp. This is a decisive position for white. Queen e5 could be a move shortly. Okay. Black has to respect this idea here of the h-pawn coming down here to h5. No time to hang on to that material, save the b-pawn. The top move in the computer's eyes from here is e4. But even with this top move, it likes white here, calling it about +1. I'll put on some moves here. The bishop ready to hop to d4. This is the line that it's looking at, some pawn sacrifice line. And it wants to play this one right here. Likes white. Super strong pawn here, connected passer. Okay, here is how black plays it in this one. We do not see e4, instead h5. Okay, the bishop is stable for a moment. No h5 here. Still no rook captures pawn. White is going after the king, trying to break down black's position. Queen g5 in this game. Knock out the h-pawn. Run with the passed pawn. Let's see black's approach. In the game, we have e4. This pawn is simply picked up now. You can't really do much about that. If white tries queen to d8, okay, now you could shift your attention to simply collecting this pawn. This here would be a decisive advantage for white. Again, super strong pawn here on d5. There wouldn't be time to take here on h5. Keep in mind, first a queen exchange, and then you would lose the bishop. Okay, no queen d8 here. It is e4. The pawn is scooped up. Rook a to e8. Bishop gets out of the way. The h-pawn ready to go. Queen e7. h5. Bishop h6. Rook g3. And now we have a queen exchange. Is this letting black off the hook? It's not. This here is still enough to cause black a giant headache. We see a check, king h2, and after bishop e5, beautiful follow-up, top move here, bishop f6, discovered check. White is okay being down the exchange. This is decisive for white. Look at this piece here. Dark square bishop versus rook imbalance. Look at the mobility for the black pieces, or lack thereof. These pieces, no options. This bishop options, but they are terrible. What about this rook? Nothing wonderful happening on the e-file. They're all covered. This square covered. At any point, this pawn can bolt. Black has to be prepared to give the exchange right back in plenty of cases. this position is busted for black. Black plays e3 here, at least gives some air to the bishop and rook. e4 has opened up. c2 opens up for the bishop. But now comes this rook lift. Once more, trying to get a rook to the g file. From here, bishop c2 gives the king a square to work with. If black tries something else, for instance, rook e4, in general, this is something you would shoot for when up the exchange, that is the removal of your opponent's remaining rook. But in this situation, two bishops and these two dangerous pawns will be more than enough to win here. A winning plan, in this case for white, would be to fly with that d pawn. Let's say it's held up with bishop f5. That bishop can be questioned, and check this out. A winning idea now. Bishop d3. And what would be stopping h6, h7 check, h8 queen for mate? The answer, nothing. Really strong. Two bishops, two passed pawns. No defense here, no solve for black. Okay, how it plays out in this game, we do not see this rook e4 move. It is bishop c2, follow up king f3, cuts out any piece, jump to this e4 square. That's one detail. The other, white's ready to next invite the g pawn into the attack. Now, computer points out you could already shoot for a check, a follow-up check, and then king f3 with g4 to follow. It says that that is winning, but how Liren plays it here, he plays king f3 first and is now looking forward to this. There's a mating attack that is right around the corner now for white. If you do not respect this rook g4 move at this moment here with the king on f3 rather than g3, in the game we have king h7 now. Just to illustrate, if you don't play king h7 here, let's say you go for a6 with next up b5, here's a nice mating attack, a mating sequence here, g4, and next up g5 check, followed up with king g3, discovered check, mate. These bishops are wicked. Okay, black does not allow, after this move here, after this move king f3, does not allow rook g4 to hit with check. It's king h7, and now we have g4. Okay, there's no more rook g4. The king now returns to g8. What else is there? Black is pretty much in a position where you just have to shuffle. There's no productive moves available to black. g5, a6, h6, and from here we have bishop to g6. If something else is played, let's say the bishop goes to h7, how can you make forward progress? Next up, a5, clamping down on this structure, you can slowly squeeze black and maybe then shoot for a timely d6 move. Black is stuck here. How it's played after h6, the bishop goes to g6, and now we have this idea, h7, check. Now what? In the game, it's bishop captures pawn. If you take with the king, you're running into rook h4 check. You go back to g8, that's mate. You would have to give up the bishop. Rook captures bishop, king g6, rook check, king f5, and after bishop d3, we will see checkmate next. Okay. Black's play here in response to h7 check is bishop captures pawn, and after rook h4, black resigns. Look at this final position and how bottled up the black pieces are. King can't move, rook can't move, bishop should not move, get mated. This rook, still without wonderful options. Let me just put a move on. Let's say b5 was played. Here's how white could follow up. Bishop d3. No good solve to this. Threatening mate in 1. Bishop is pinned. You don't have an answer here as black. Crushing position here for white. Anyhow, what are your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.